So how was Dublin last night? Was it good? All right, cool. So, where's my clicker anyway? I had a clicker in the... No. All right. So before we get started, I'd like to do a small audience check. So how many of you are perhaps a product owner? If you're a product owner, raise your hand. Cool. How many are a product manager? Product manager. Interesting to see people find some difference in those terms. Keep your hands raised if you are in product marketing, content marketing. Keep your hands up. Anybody who's not sleeping, raise your hand. A couple of you had a rough night. All right. So very much welcome. Apparently we are also in a virtual track, which sounds very unreal. So hello, virtual people. I'm going to do a very, very tiny talk. I'm going to squeeze 240 pages of work into 20 minutes, 18. And the best way to show that is to show you a judo example. And to show you how a small opponent can actually beat a larger opponent. And this is very relevant if you're a startup, or if you're in product management or product ownership, and you have a young fledgling product that's trying to capture the market. I didn't? I'm Chris. Chris Lucassen from the Netherlands. And I wrote a book which is called The Product Samurai. I think that's all the relevant stuff. Let me go on to introducing somebody else who's very relevant. This is Robin. Can I have a small applause? And Robin's here to help me out. So we will show you the 3 core principles from Judo. You can see at the slides, no expense was spared. So let's do our Judo. Ga je naar die kant? I'll have to switch to Dutch every now and then to tell them what we're doing. Okay, so the first Judo principle we will be demonstrating is movement. We gaan beweging laten zien. All right. Draai. Wanneer ga je draaien? Zet hem in Iepel. Wil je die kant op? Ja, doe maar. Hup. So that was movement. It's about finding uncontested space, finding a place where you have a leverage over your opponent, and not just go in on full force and see what happens. The second Judo principle is about balance. Gaat over balans. And he's going to demonstrate the first throw you will learn in Judo, which is called Osotogari, which means greater outer reap, I think. Nou, laat maar zien. So that's not working, huh? So why is it not working? If anybody has an idea? I still have my balance, huh? So kan je laten zien hoe je de balans verstoort? Can you show us how you do remove the balance? En nou in een gooi. Als je iets vergeten. Houd greep. Eén keer gooien en houd greep. Door. Aha. He actually made a classical startup error in not following through fast. So once you've toppled your opponent, you should follow through fast. Let me see. Third principle, leverage. Leverage over your opponent. We're going to do a sacrifice throw, which is the tamanoge. Basically it means I'm slightly stronger than him. So when I push, en als ik druk, he can push back. Doe maar, probeer me te drukken. It doesn't work like that. And likewise, when I pull, So definitely it's not something about strength. Yeah, let me tell you. So, actually when I push, he should pull. And when I pull, he should push. Hey. Volgende ga ik. Ja. Hoi. Gaan we terug, gaan we afgoeden. Dankjewel. Ga mee. Ga mee zitten. Even kijken. All right. Clicker. So those were the 3 core principles from Judo. Now let's see, this is Jigoro Kano, the founder of Judo, movement, balance, leverage. Let's see how this relates to being a product manager. Let's talk about movement. I have to catch your breath first. I think maybe talk about examples. One of the best examples about finding uncontested space, in my opinion, was Apple moving into the music industry. And it is interesting because they did a very un-Apple-like move. So typically they are very good in their marketing and very good in their campaigns and explaining why they're the best. But when they moved into digital industry, and for some of you it might be a history lesson, in the past music was sold in stores, in brick and mortar on little shiny discs. And before that the discs were not shiny and even bigger. And at that time, it was a saturated market, and all the money was captured by companies like EMI and Universal. And Apple went to them, and they played what I call the puppy ploy, which means you put up very big eyes, and you say, "Well, I'm not a risk to you." And at the end, the puppy got all the attention. Huh? That's how it works in the household. So what they did, they went to these large companies and said, "Well, obviously you know how music works, and you're very good at it, but you have a problem, which is called piracy." And at the time we had all these software applications like Kazaa and Napster and MP3, and people were stealing all the music. And they say, "You know, this is only a very tiny piece of your business. It is negligible, but it is a pain. So why don't you give us the digital music, which is only a tiny percentage of your total turnover, and we'll give you a legal alternative." And so it happened, and after some time people started to realize that digital music was the way to go. But by them, follow through fast. So you have to finish what you start if you have passed your competitive advantage. So they followed through very fast, and all these companies sort of lost their place. And it takes a lot of strength if you want to overcome this kind of advantage. Number 2, balance. I was a product manager at TomTom. Responsible for the US market. And how many of you remember a compact iPad? Yeah, some historians in the back. Hi, Jack. So the compact iPad was a very tiny computer. Well, it was not really, you shouldn't be able to call it a computer by nowadays standards. It ran on 64 megabytes of memory, which is about the size of your average icon. It had a separate power supply, it had a separate GPS, it had a separate power supply for the GPS, otherwise it still wouldn't work. Maps could only fit on an SD card, roughly the size of Dublin would fit on a single SD card. So imagine driving to Cork and needing to swap out cards midway, simply because, well, there's not enough space. And we couldn't produce them fast enough. And it was interesting. So first year we had 0 competitors, then we had 2, then we had 237. And one of the interesting things that we realized is that it is all about the map. And at that time there were only 2 companies capable of producing digital maps. There were Tele Atlas and Navtec. Nowadays there's Google. And rather to sort of battle these huge companies, we kept them very close, or at least one of them. And we played this puppy ploy with Tele Atlas and said, "Well, give us the maps, you know, who's ever going to use navigation in a car?" Well, that worked out, and then we did an interesting deal with them, and we exchanged some stock, and we had this kind of kickback fee on the maps. So it'd be interesting for them to see us grow. In year 3, when we had all these competitors, people at Tele Atlas office, they started discovering where Amsterdam was, because By then they realized that they had a competitor. And people said, well, let's build a navigation product. And then some other bright people on the board said, well, wait a minute, we have this great deal. And it's bringing us a lot of revenue. And we own some stock in this small company in Amsterdam. And so they never made a move. And they never made a move because we kept them very close to us. And that is what I call the second principle of judo, bringing your opponent off balance. Third principle, is there anybody here running a startup or a small product and has a problem with a larger company? Yeah. Maybe people in a virtual track. Hello, virtual people. Interesting tip for today. I will give you the secret clue on how to beat your larger opponent, especially if it's a publicly listed company. The interesting bit is they will tell you. You will get their annual report, and in Annex C somewhere is a table which says investments. And that is the interesting part. I run an app development company, and we were building mobile applications in the media and in the publishing space. So we did small newspapers like The Telegraph, which is something like The Sun in the UK. We also did Al Jazeera, and we did some deals with Thomson Reuters. And at one point I was doing a deal with one of the largest publishers in Europe. And we signed this deal, yeah, we'll do apps and we'll build digital media and stuff like that. And then he gave us a tour, not of the whiskey thingy, but of the printing facility. And he showed me a printing press, and he says, Chris, this is the largest printing press in Europe. It is 3 stories high. It can print so and so many thousand sheets of papers. And his eyes started to glow. And well, the Irish may have black stuff in their veins, but this guy had like printing inks in his veins. And I was looking at him and I was like, uh-oh. I'm here to kill your printing press. He's never going to let me kill his printing press. He is so in love with this huge investment that he made that he couldn't see something very obvious coming towards him, which is that the industry is going to change. So look for investments, because it's really difficult to say goodbye to your investment. So that's a strong point. There's maybe for the US market, there is a small company in Texas that made diapers. Completely different subject. But I have 4 children, so I know everything about diapers. And this company had a superior product and started to get traction. And then Procter & Gamble said, well, let's kill these guys. I'm not sure how it works in Ireland, but in the US they will print coupons and you get a rebate. You use the same technique. It's not used in the Netherlands, but it's a very popular technique. You just get a rebate. And it's about the power of your marketing machine. So how many coupons can you print? So that was a problem. And the interesting thing that this small company, Dripers they were called, what they did is they changed the packaging. And on the packaging they printed a little text, say, from now on we'll also accept the coupons from Procter & Gamble. And you can imagine this campaign was running. So there was no way to stop all the campaigns that were, coupons that were already in circulation. And the more money Procter & Gamble would put in the marketing campaign, the more they would be helping drivers. So that is a typical judo example of leveraging your opponent's strength. Oh, we're doing really good in time. So, that's cool. So, summary. Define the competitive space. Don't let the competitor define the space in which you're active. You define the competitive space. If you let the competitor decide where we will battle, it's kind of difficult. Pull when they push. So if you have an asset of them that you need, keep them close. And go for sunk cost. That's actually one of my daughters doing traditional jiu-jitsu. All right. One last thing, especially for product owners in the back. And for all those of you who haven't realized that agile product management is all about product ownership. There is a seed condition to all of this, because you as a product owner are going to set up a lot of experiments. You might do a lot of things may go wrong. So there's something that you need in your environment for this to succeed, which is I call the seed condition. And to show this, I've brought a small movie. Let's see if that works. It actually works. Yeah, sound levels are okay. So how's this called in English? It's a vaulting horse, I think you call this. Yeah, it's called a bok in Dutch. You can turn down the volume slightly of the audio video. So, no, that is kind of drastic. Did I do that? Gremlins. there he goes. So yeah, this is your average product manager, and he's trying to launch his product. And that didn't work. So his boss said, "Oh no, try again." Which is already very supporting. My boss would say, "What the hell did you just do?" So he tries again. Not good. So I'm not sure how this works in Ireland or wherever the virtual track people are. But in the Netherlands, when this would happen, the teacher would probably say, "Well, it's a good thing that you're good at math." Yeah, they would. Not in Japan, you will just keep going. So that's interesting. You see that the rest of his colleagues are getting restless. My God, still not working. This video goes on for 20 minutes. Huh? Are they moving? Yeah, there they go. See, that's Mike from marketing. It's John from finance. The IT guys are coming. And they're not here to beat him up. Well, they're going to shout at him, but in a positive way. So something interesting. They all get around him and they sort of get together and support him. And they cheer for him. That would be nice to get the audio back. Yeah, absolutely. Get up! It's bedtime. Now let's see how he's doing. All right. So to all this agile thinking and all the methods, you should read about it, learn about it, do all that. But there is a seed condition that you need in your environment, and that is a safe environment in which you can practice and where it's allowed to fail. And this is why judo is such a relevant example, and this is why I'm so happy that Jack brought around some mats, so we can we can do a safe fall and we can practice without hurting ourselves. So make small experiments, learn, apply these judo principles, and become a product samurai. All right. So this is the post-introduction. So this is why I saved it for the last slide.
And will you be around today for people to ask questions and meet you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll stay around for a little bit and we'll do some questions. Otherwise, you can reach me here. I am in GMT +1, so don't call me in the night. But this is where you can get the book if you don't like to pay for it. Most of the stuff is on the blog. Don't tell anybody else.
Okay. So the virtual attendees can get your information off the blog?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the in-person attendees, if you visit all the exhibitors, we have copies of Chris's book at the registration desk. So if you fill out your form that we passed out yesterday, that's the prize. So get your copy of the book. And you might even autograph them?
I can do that, absolutely.
Ooh. Okay, round of applause. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And
actually, stop and take a bow.
Ja, I could not have done it without you. Gaan we even buigen naar het publiek. Kom hier staan. 1, 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah. All right. Our next speaker is Megan Gehuli, the Senior Manager of Content Management from Amazon.com.